tonight. Minister of Information Lai Mohammed says country has been through the worst as far as security challenges confronting the nation is concerned. Former Commonwealth Secretary-General Chief Emeka Anyonko calls for true federalism as way of tackling various challenges confronting the country. Concerned alumni of Nigerian universities seek presidential intervention on lingering strike by university lecturers, says no nation aspiring for greatness toys with its education.
On business news tonight, Nigerian National Petroleum Company says average fuel supply to the country hits 68 million litres per day between January and August this year.
On sports news tonight, Europe's biggest club competition, the UEFA Champions League, is back as 8 games across Europe will kickstart the 2022-23 season on Tuesday night.
From Abuja, federal government suspends introduction of 5% excise duty on telecom services in the country. Sets subcommittee to review policy.
And in international news from London, police in Canada are searching for 2 suspects after 10 people were killed and 15 injured in a series of stabbings across the country.
No matter the security challenge the country is presently facing, the worst may well be over. That's according to the Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. The minister, who was speaking when he and 3 other ministers addressed a press conference in Abuja today, says President Muhammadu Buhari's order to crush terrorists is working and the nation is better for it. Our correspondent Dele Omoyeni has more.
The weight of the security situation in the country is enough to bring together key ministers in charge of security for this briefing. Heads of other security agencies are also in attendance. The Minister of Information, who is moderating the session alongside other ministers, gives an update on the efforts of the government to address the situation in the country.
We can say, I want to repeat, that the worst is over, and peace and security are gradually returning to the land. Please don't misunderstand or misrepresent this assertion. We may still witness isolated cases of security challenges here and there, but it will not be on the scale that we've witnessed in the past.
This present administration is doing everything possible to ensure the safety and security of all citizens. I therefore urge all Nigerians to support the armed forces of Nigeria in its efforts towards ensuring the security to the nation.
Officers of the Federal Fire Service will not be accompanied by armed men who will not hesitate to shoot hoodlums and miscreants who attack them during rescue operations. The government is taking this action following reports of attacks on officers during operations.
Touts and hoodlums that attack firemen and damage their trucks and equipment at fire scenes. We are therefore putting together armed escorts to accompany firefighting trucks to fire scenes to deter such elements. And I'm warning them. I've been warning them. Please, if you have no business at fire scenes, don't get there. If you can't help us, don't obstruct us. If you attack us in our discharge of our responsibility as firemen, we will attack you very, very violently. We will shoot you.
According to the Minister of Police Affairs, about 30,000 constables have been recruited in the last 3 years. Meanwhile, efforts are underway to ensure the safe return of the remaining victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack.
In 2019, when Mr. President made his second coming, he gave the police the directive to recruit 10,000 police officers annually. This we have been doing, and since that time, from that time to date, we have recruited over 30,000 police constables.
What I can assure you is that the federal government is busy and is committed to ensuring that nobody will remain in captivity of anybody, whether they be, bandits, whether they be ritualists, whether they be kidnappers.
At this national security briefing, the ministers of Interior, Defense and Police Affairs rolled out the achievements of the agencies under their ministries. But for many Nigerians who have not felt the impact of security agencies, there's much left to be desired. Gini Omoyedi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, one of the agencies directly involved in the fight against terrorism, the Department of State Services, is seeking the collaboration of other government agencies to address the funding of terrorism. Speaking at a forum in Abuja today, the DSS boss says there's need for a strengthened response to money laundering activities, which will ultimately contribute to cutting off the sources of finance for terrorism. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Faced with the task of combating terrorism, the Department of State Security Service has brought together representatives of various security and regulatory agencies, as well as judiciary officers in Nigeria, to brainstorm on how to tackle illicit financial flows, which has been identified as major means for financing terrorism in the country. Through money laundering, drug and human trafficking, arms smuggling, among other means, terrorism activities in Nigeria have continued to thrive. And according to the Director General of the Department of State Security Service, Mr. Yusuf Bichi, represented by the Director, Training and Staff Development in the service, Mr. Brown Ekwaba, there must be an interagency collaboration to tackle the challenge.
With criminal elements perfecting concealment of origin of illicit funds, it beholds on us that a strengthened anti-criminal response to money laundering activities will contribute to the cutting of sources of finance, as well as the countering the financial incentives that drive the crime. Our expected personnel must be guided by trust, honesty, and patriotism at all times, while we as leaders must exhibit exemplary leadership by mentoring them in the discharge of their duties.
Detecting money laundering activities, arresting perpetrators, and prosecuting persons found guilty of financing terrorism, experts believe are crucial to tackling the challenge of terrorism in Nigeria.
In order to stop money laundering and terrorism financing, we must be able to identify as soon as possible that it is taking place. Lastly, to prosecute means keeping perpetrators and their sponsors behind bars to reassure the society of the sincerity of government in keeping its constitutional mandate.
This workshop is designed to serve as a forum for cross-fertilization of ideas, as participants are also required to share their experiences and viewpoints to enrich the discussion. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Well, staying with security, in Katsina State, the police says they have repelled a terrorist attack in Kankia local government area of the state, neutralizing 2 of the terrorists in the process. The incident occurred in the early hours of today after police received a call that terrorists numbering 11 on motorcycles and armed with AK-47 rifles attacked the residence of one Alhaji Ibrahim Tafashia of Kankia Council and abducted him. The police deployed operatives to the area, blocked the attackers at Juga village and engaged them in fierce gun duel and rescued the kidnapped victim unhurt. Over in Ekiti State, an officer of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Segun Oyebulu, who was shot dead by suspected kidnappers. The incident is said to have occurred Saturday evening when the officer alongside other passengers were in transit between Okeako and Irele, which shares a border with Kwara State. The NSCDC Public Relations Officer, Ekiti Command, told Channels Television that the victim was heading to his town in Kogi State when gunmen attacked his vehicle. Other occupants of the vehicle were said to have also been abducted. The Corps spokesperson affirmed that the operatives of the NSCDC are currently on the trail of the culprits in collaboration with other security agencies. And now to the state of the nation, where former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyaoku, says it is time for Nigeria to embrace true federalism if the country desires to be at par with other developing countries that got their independence about the same time as Nigeria. Chief Anyaoku is confident that this governance system will assist every federating unit to address its respective challenges, including security. He was speaking while playing host to the chairman of the National Population Commission and his team, who came to rally the support of the elder statesmen ahead of the April 2023 population census. Our correspondent Timothy Crown Adirigbibe reports.
Come April 2023, Nigerians will be counted in the population census, which is coming about 17 years after the last exercise in 2006. And as part of the preparation for the exercise, the management of the National Population Commission has been engaging with groups and prominent Nigerians to rally support for the head count, which is 7 months away. The team's latest visit is to the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyaoku in Lagos.
By the time we finish it, we would have established a national frame for all activities, whether it's census or surveys or our civil registration system, any exercise. And we've been able to produce digital maps. In the past, we used pen and papers to draw design maps, but we do it now digitally.
Chief Anyaoku considers the roll call as an important ingredient in national development, but asks the procedure be transparent and objective.
It's a fact that in our country, a regrettable fact, many of the past census exercises have been replete with controversy. And so my hope is that this time, from what you have just said, I'm encouraged to believe that you're going to get it right. From your description of the process that you are adopting, I'm confident that you will endeavor to get it right.
Beyond the issue of upcoming census, the elder statesman restates his call for federalism in the country, as well as gives his expectation ahead of the 2023 general elections.
My hope, and I will stress my hope, is that the elections, 2023 elections, will be free and fair and will truly reflect the wishes of the population.
Although the head count will be in 2023, the census has begun with enumeration of houses, masts, and other objects. Timothy Crown, Adirigbibe, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, death toll from building collapse in Victoria Island, Lagos rises to 6. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Minister of Information Lai Mohammed says country has been through the worst as far as security challenges confronting the nation is concerned. Former Commonwealth Secretary General Chief Emeka Anyaoku calls for true federalism as a way of tackling various challenges confronting the country. Concerned alumni of Nigerian universities seek presidential intervention in lingering strike by university lecturers, says no nation aspiring for greatness toys with its education. And incoming British Prime Minister Liz Truss says her government will deliver to help people cope with rising energy bills. In continuation of engagements with political parties ahead of the 2023 general elections, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Catriona Laing, today visited the flag bearer of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu. The High Commissioner says her visit is born out of the long-standing relationship between the UK and Nigeria and the British government's desire to see a free and fair election next year.
Very grateful to His Excellency's team for meeting us today. This is one of a series of meetings with all the main presidential candidates. The UK is a firm and long-standing partner of Nigeria. We believe in Nigeria's democracy and we commend the democratic journey. So one of the things we talked about is the importance of Nigeria's democracy and for encouraging Nigeria to join what our government calls a network of liberty. The world will be watching these elections and all the presidential candidates have a huge responsibility to play their part to make sure they are peaceful and credible, which will help Nigeria, I think, establish its rightful place in the world. Whoever comes into government, and of course it could be this presidential aspirant, His Excellency Tinubu, it could be somebody else, the UK government will continue to work very closely with Nigeria. We have a long history, a deep history, we have people-to-people links. We want Nigeria to succeed. Nigeria's success will be helpful to the success of Africa and the world.
We're staying with politics. Spokesman to the Atiku Abubakar campaign organization, Mr. Daniel Bwala, is alleging that the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, is being used as a pawn by former President Olusegun Obasanjo to support the APC presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. According to Mr. Bwala, former President Obasanjo is campaigning for Mr. Obi in the north to divide the northern votes, which he says are likely to be for the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar.
Actually, Peter Obi isn't going anywhere, and I think he knows it. And I will give you this. Algorithm check and data analytics was carried out where it was reached at assessing his strength on the social media. And it is discovered that 57.5% of people who engage for him consist of bots and or individuals that do not live in Nigeria. So meaning that when the chips are down, 57% of the energy he generates from the social media won't be on ground to vote for him. That is case number one. Case number two, Peter Obi is being used by some stakeholders as a decoy to support Asiwaju. And this is evident, and I will let you go do the research, of a particular known statesman who is consistently campaigning for him, but he has only stretched those campaigns to the north and has not engaged in the southwest, meaning that the voters in the southwest should not be touched, but the votes that will come from the north, which are more likely going to be for Atiku, should be plunged. So in other words, like in chess, where they say you use someone as a pawn, Peter Obi is being used as a pawn to support the candidacy and emergence of Asiwaju.
Would that be the former President Olusegun Obasanjo, whom you said had asked you to support Peter Obi?
Well, my response will be this. You know, I have and I hold General Olusegun Obasanjo with the highest regards and esteem. I also count it a pleasure and a privilege that I can get a call from him asking me to, support the house he's building, which of course is Obi and Dati.
And 6 Alumni Association of Nigerian universities are asking the presidency to wade into the crisis which has resulted in the continued closure of universities in Nigeria. In a statement jointly signed by the presidents of the University Alumni Associations, the group is asking that all contending issues be speedily resolved, as no nation aspiring to be a member of the Committee of Enlightened Nations would toy with its education. The group is, however, appealing to the leadership of ASU to sheathe its sword and recall its members back to the universities as they have made their point. The statement reads in part, "The opinion of the members of the public generally is in favor of resumption of academic activities in the universities that have been closed for over 6 months now." In the same vein, the group is seeking urgent interventions in some of the challenges confronting the country, including terrorism, kidnappings, money rituals and prostitution, among others, noting that these are some of the consequences of youths not being critically engaged. The associations lamented that the all-time honored aphorism that an idle brain is the devil's workshop is instructive, and government should ensure that the crises in the country are not further exacerbated by allowing the youth to be willing tools for social vices. And to the building collapse in Lagos, where 6 bodies have now been recovered from the site in Oniru area of the state. NEMA's Southwest Zonal Coordinator Ibrahim Farinloye gave the figure today following further evacuation at the site of the 7-story building, which was under construction before it came down Sunday morning. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Dr. Idris Salako, today tendered his resignation to the state government. A statement by the Commissioner for Information, Mr. Gbenga Omotosho, says the Commissioner's resignation is a prelude to the restructuring of the ministry and its agencies. According to him, the governor also warned players in the sector to respect the law or face the consequences. We head now to our Abuja studios where my colleague Gloria Mezuke is standing by with more. Hi Gloria, lovely to see you.
Thank you, Millicent. Here in Abuja, some respite may have come for Telecom subscribers as the federal government today announced a suspension of the proposed 5% excise duty in the digital economy sector of the country. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, disclosed this in Abuja during the inauguration of a committee that will review the policy. It says President Muhammadu Buhari gave the directive, having considered the consequences that the policy will have on the operations of telecommunication industries in the country.
The ICT sector is being overburdened with so many categories of attacks, to the extent that as I speak today, there are 41 categories. 41, more than 39, at federal and state level. In addition to all what the sector has been contributing, 41 categories of taxes being paid from the ICT sector alone, particularly in the telecommunication subsector, 41. And there are different types of attacks, some at federal level, some at state level. And besides this, you will discover this 41, there are sometimes even multiple taxation. The same tax being collected at the federal level, some states will insist that the same tax should be remitted to the corpus of the state. If care is not taken, this is going to jeopardize the achievements and the gains we have recorded so far in the sector. It is because of this, Mr. President has immediately approved my prayers. Number one, the immediate suspension of excise duty in the digital economy sector. And number two, he approved that a committee to be constituted to look into the matter carefully and advise him accordingly.
To health now, members of the African Union Smart Safety Surveillance Project are seeking stronger regional collaboration for an improved surveillance system on the continent. The project was launched by the African Union in 2020 with 5 pilot countries, namely Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, South Africa and Kenya, with the aim of strengthening their safety surveillance systems for priority medical reports.
The Director General of NAFDAC is hosting chief executive officers of 5 other African countries, including South Africa and Ghana, at this maiden in-person meeting of the African Union Smart Safety Surveillance, also called the AU3S project in Abuja. The AU3S project was launched by the African Union in 2020 to strengthen the health safety surveillance capacity of members through a robust database on pharmacovigilance and post-market surveillance. Participants here stressed the importance of collaboration and strong regulatory institutions to make the program succeed.
We are developing on the continent new medications that will mainly be used in Africa. And we can't rely on other parts of the world to give us the safety information. And without a strong regulatory system, there cannot be strong health for the populations of the countries that we're talking about.
Pharmacovigilance is not just with NAFDAC in Nigeria, but it also has a lot to do with other agencies in Nigeria, and that we have found very, very useful. Collaboration, extremely important. WHO came alongside us, UNICEF, at the beginning of this journey.
The outbreak of COVID-19 in most African countries and the subsequent rollout of vaccines heightened the need for pharmacovigilance in order to address the fears of many who had some reservations about the new vaccines.
The AU3S gave us the confidence to introduce vaccines in a pandemic where we knew that we were not alone in the monitoring of the safety of the vaccines. And for every vaccine that you introduce, whether you know about the vaccine or not, the most important thing about using a vaccine is the safety of the vaccine.
In his remarks, the WHO country representative asserts that the African Union Smart Safety Surveillance Project will go a long way to ensure the safety of medical products on the continent.
The fact that the intervention will improve efficiencies through the use of technological innovation, pooling of resources, and work sharing among African countries will go a long way to institutionalize safety surveillance in the regulatory system.
When fully implemented, the African Union Smart Safety Surveillance Project is expected to provide a strong database on the adverse effects of the usage of medical products, including vaccines, and promotes the safety of medicines on the continent.
We're still ahead on the news at 10. Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation says average fuel supply to the country hits 68 million litres per day between January and August this year. Well, that's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news, coming to you live from Channels Television. The Nigerian Navy says it is progressively decimating the capacity of oil thieves to steal and refine crude in the Niger Delta region. Well, that's according to the Navy's Director of Information, Commodore Olukayode Ayovon, who explains that perpetrators of the crime have lost billions of naira, with hundreds of arrests recorded, owing to the kinetic effort of the Navy's operation. Commodore Ayovon gave the figures on the sidelines of a courtesy visit to the Channels Television Global headquarters in Lagos.
The Navy has launched Operation Dakata Dabarau, which in Hausa language means stop the thief. And that was at the instance of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. Then I think that was on the 1st of April. And it was in realization of the economic impact and environmental impact that this menace has taken on the nation as well as the Niger Delta. We have all our bases in the Niger Delta fully mobilized, as well as the ships on the high sea, to stop the thief by carrying out patrols, by the use of also the Nigerian Navy's maritime domain awareness assets to survey ships that come to our waters to load. I know that as at the last compilation that we made, the Nigerian Navy had denied oil thieves products, both crude and illegally refined products, to the tune of over 30 billion naira. So we've destroyed a lot of illegal refining sites, and we are still destroying, and our men visit those sites virtually weekly or daily to ensure that they do not reactivate them again.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Gloria. And from maritime, we go to aviation, where the name of the unconscious stowaway found in a United Nigeria parked aircraft on Sunday has been released. According to a statement by Courtney Aviation Services operators of MMA2, he is 14-year-old Rashid Muftau, and he is now safe in the custody of the airport authority, where he is being held for further investigation. The statement indicated that the boy in question told investigators that he gained access to the airside through an opening at Ilezik, Fan's perimeter fence along the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway. The runaway, who claimed to be an orphan, lives in Badagry, but from Kwara State, said he was tired of the country and wanted to travel. To Abia State, where the governor, Okezie Ikpeazu, says the Osisioma interchange will provide great economic boost to the people of Aba and Abia State in general. Governor Ikpeazu stated this at the inauguration of the project, where he also took a swipe at his critics, commenting on the completion timeline of the project. On his part, the special guest and Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, commends his host for serving the people, describing him as a dependable ally.
The popular Osisioma interchange in the commercial city of Aba in Abia State is now wearing a new look. And as they say, pictures are worth 1,000 words. The project was flagged off in 2017, and 5 years after, Governor Okezie Ikpeazu, in company of his guest and Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, are here to inaugurate it as part of the Ikpeazu legacy in providing God's own state with good infrastructure.
Sometime in 2015, the governor of the state, Okezie Ikpeazu, directed that a research and a study be conducted on the problem we have at Osisioma flyover. That particular study showed that there was traffic congestion, that the only way we can move traffic away from here is to do brake separation. In consequence, this design was prepared, approved by the ESCO, and construction commenced in 2017.
And the elated Governor Ikpeazu says he's satisfied to see the project that will serve the people completed and set for inauguration.
I am happy that God has firmed and strengthened our hands to the point that today this project has become a reality. The essence of government on governance is to solve problems of the people. And my greatest joy serving you as governor is the opportunity you have afforded me through your ballot to change things and make life better and easier for our people.
His guest, Governor Wike, commends his colleague while explaining that their bond cannot be broken by those who try.
One man work can change everything. And your work has brought good fortune for all the other people, and brought good luck to them. And that is what is important in life. And I want to urge you to continue to work for the people of Abia. It doesn't matter that you don't have much time again, whether it is 7 months or it's 8 months or it's 5 months or do not relent. Whatever you can do for the people of Abia, continue to do for them.
The project is then inaugurated. Road infrastructure is one of the basic necessities to drive advancement, and this project will no doubt change the aesthetic outlook of Aba and boost the socio-economic development of Abia State.
Time now for some business news. Here's Anne Waldo.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says that it has imported a total of 16.46 billion litres of fuel into the country between January and August this year. According to the NNPC Limited, this translates to an average supply of 68 million litres per day within the same period. However, the company says it recognizes the impact of maritime and cross-border smuggling of petrol on the overall supply framework. The oil company adds that it will continue to work with relevant government agencies to curtail smuggling of PMS and any other criminal activity. Meanwhile, members of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, have threatened to commence the picketing of 9 northern depots of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited over alleged non-payments of their breach claims amounting to over 50 billion naira. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association, Suleja branch, who joined the northern counterparts to besiege the Suleja NNPC depot early Monday morning, insists that for the next 3 days, the depot will be under lock and key. Motorists in northern states of Nigeria could be in for another ugly experience of fuel queues, as all the petroleum depots in the region have been shut. Global credit ratings agency Fitch has affirmed Kaduna State's long-term foreign and local currency issuer default rating at B with a stable outlook. According to Fitch, the ratings reflect Kaduna's still significant but declining revenue transfer dependency on transfers from the federal government despite increasing total generated revenue. The ratings agency says it also considered the state's growing debts to fund necessary capex for the development of basic infrastructure and social services. Head to the market now, where the first trading day of the week ended in the red, as losses from banking stock and Lafarge dragged the index below the 50,000 level. To get the details, Jeffrey Uzongo has more.
Hello and welcome to Stock Market Report. From a marginal gain at intraday to a negative close on the first trading day of the week, and the bear is happy to apparently regain control. Now, the all-share index has lost 50,000 points so soon, but the market cap is still holding close to the 27 trillion naira point, and of course 0.11% of the all-share index. Now, it's a mixed activity chart today. The only green is the deals, about 500 more deals compared to Friday, standing at over 3,000 deals, valued at 1.45 billion naira. Now, value went from over 2.6 billion on Friday to just about 1.45 billion today. What a drop, showing a negative movement in some high quality and value equities. Now, top trades are Sterling Bank leading after trading almost 91 million. And our Fidelity stands at 11.6 million and UBA at 10.6 million. Now, it's negative market breadth today, with profit taking evidence in the financial services sector. But it's early in the week, so let's keep our fingers, as they say, like this, cross. Now, that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. It's back to you.
Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Mwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Millicent.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne. The death toll has risen from Sunday's stabbings in Saskatchewan, Canada, 3 more than previous official figures. Police is warning 2 suspects in the attack are still at large, and law enforcement officials are doing all they can to track them down. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Police in Canada are looking for 2 suspects after 10 people were killed and 15 injured in a series of stabbings in the province of Saskatchewan. They have named the 2 as Damien Sanderson and Miles Sanderson and say they're currently on the run. The stabbings across 13 crime scenes were among the deadliest mass killings in modern Canadian history. 3 provinces are on alert as police search for the suspects. People have been warned not to approach them but to call the police. On Twitter, Canada's President Justin Trudeau said, "The attacks in Saskatchewan today are horrific and heartbreaking. I'm thinking of those who have lost a loved one and of those who are injured."
Let me be clear. We are still looking for the 2 suspects. We are asking residents across Saskatchewan and our neighboring provinces to be vigilant. At this stage in our investigation, we believe some of the victims have been targeted by the suspect and others have been attacked randomly.
Liz Truss will be the new UK Prime Minister after defeating Rishi Sunak in the Tory leadership contest. She arrived at the Conservative Party headquarters after the result. That was closer than expected, with Truss taking 57% of valid votes cast just after midday. The chorus of boos, a demonstration of the difficult task she has in store. Her rival, the former Chancellor Rishi Sunak, responded to his loss on Twitter saying, "Thank you to everyone who voted for me in this campaign. I've said throughout that the Conservatives are one family. It's right we now unite behind the new Prime Minister Liz Truss as she steers the country through difficult times."
I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy. I will deliver on the energy crisis, dealing with people's energy bills, but also dealing with the long-term issues we have on energy supply.
Kenya's Supreme Court has ruled that William Ruto was properly elected as president, dismissing several petitions seeking to annul the result of the 9th of August election.
That is the judgment of the court.
His rival, Raila Odinga, and others had alleged that massive fraud, including tampering with results forms, had taken place. Outside court, Raila Odinga's lawyer said while he disagreed with the ruling, they would stick by it.
Yes, in accordance with the law, we got to accept this decision as the law of the land, but I think it is a very ideological decision.
Voters in Chile have overwhelmingly rejected a new constitution which was due to replace the one drawn up under General Augusto Pinochet's military rule. In a referendum, almost 62% voted against the progressive draft. The margin of the defeat is much larger than opinion polls had suggested. Chile's president, Gabriel Boric, who had backed the new constitution, said he would work with Congress and civil society to come up with a new constitutional process. Gas prices have soared on concerns over energy supplies after Russia announced it would not reopen its main gas pipeline to Europe. The Dutch month-ahead wholesale gas price, a benchmark for Europe, was up as much as 30% in early trading on Monday. The Nord Stream 1 pipeline had been due to reopen on Saturday after being shut for 3 days. But Russia's state-owned energy firm Gazprom said it had found a leak. Europe has accused Russia of using gas supplies to blackmail European countries because of the Ukraine conflict, something Moscow denies. Chinese state media say at least 21 people have been killed after a 6.6 magnitude earthquake hit southwestern China. The quake struck at 1 o'clock local time in Sichuan province at a depth of 10 kilometers. The impact severed telecommunications lines and triggered mountain landslides that caused serious damage, while homes and roads were also affected. And large parts of India's tech capital, Bengaluru, have been underwater after torrential rains slammed the city, disrupting traffic. Torrential rains lashed Bengaluru on Monday, causing crippling traffic disruptions and prompting several offices to issue work-from-home orders to employees. People were also wading in waist-high water in parts of the city. Footage showed a man overwhelmed by swirling floodwaters being rescued by passers-by. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. And now time for some sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Millicent. Welcome to Sports News. The UEFA Champions League is back as the race on who will be crowned 2022-23 season champions begins on Tuesday night. 8 games will be played tomorrow across Europe. In Group E, 2-time champions Chelsea will travel to Croatia for their opening campaign against Dinamo Zagreb. FC Salzburg and AC Milan will also be in action. While defending champions Real Madrid begin their campaign against Celtic in Scotland, RB Leipzig and Shakhtar Donetsk will also be in action in Group F. In other games for Tuesday night, Borussia Dortmund will host FC Copenhagen and Sevilla will host Manchester City in Group G. PSG will host Juventus in another big game for Tuesday night. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has asked for forgiveness at a ceremony to mark the 50th anniversary of the 1972 Munich Olympics attacks on Israeli athletes and team members at the airfield near Munich, where a failed rescue attempt took place. Steinmeier says Germany should shoulder its share of responsibilities for the failures to protect the athletes and for taking decades to compensate the victims' families. Well, members of the Israeli Olympic team were taken hostage on September the 5th, 1972, at the athletes' village by Palestinians from the Black September group, where 11 Israelis, a German policeman, as well as 5 of the Palestinian gunmen died after a standoff at the Olympic village as rescue efforts erupted into gunfire. In boxing, WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury has offered Anthony Joshua a shot against his WBC heavyweight title in a bout he insists will take place before the end of the year. The Gypsy King announced this on his social media handle today and also added that if Joshua turns down the opportunity, he'll look for someone else. Fury had hoped to fight the IBF, WBO and WBC champion Alexander Usyk in December to crown the division's first undisputed champion since Lennox Lewis. However, the Ukrainian has no desire to fight again before the end of the year, forcing Fury to reconsider his immediate options. Andrei Rublev has shrugged off a rain delay to breeze past Cameron Norrie and reach the US Open quarterfinals for the third time earlier today. Now, the 9th-seeded Russian triumphed 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 and will face the either four-time champion Rafa Nadal or Francis Tiafoe of the United States for a place in the semi-finals. Rublev lost to Nadal in the quarterfinals in New York in 2017. That's a wrap on Sports News. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, today said the country has been through the worst as far as security challenges confronting the country is concerned. Also today, concerned alumni of Nigerian universities seek presidential intervention in the lingering strike by university lecturers, said no nation aspiring for greatness toys with its education. Members of the group include the president worldwide of the University of Lagos Alumni Association, Dr. John Momo, the chairman of the Conference of Alumni Associations of Nigerian Universities, Professor Ahmed Mora, and the president of the University of Ibadan Alumni, Professor Elsie Adewoye. Others are the president of the University of Calabar Alumni, Professor Yakubu Ochefu, President, University of Jos Alumni, Pastor Nuhu Sani, and the President of the University of Port Harcourt Alumni, Pastor Ule Williams Glad. And also, do join us for the full interview with the spokesman of the PDP presidential candidate, Mr. Daniel Bwala, tomorrow, Tuesday, on our political program, Political Paradigm, that's coming up at noon. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.